Just as we prepare to get started, hi, Lanya. Hi, Derica.
Hello.
Yeah. And then, how are you?
Hi. Hey, Antoinette.
Hey. It's being recorded.
Hey, hello.
Hello, all.
Hi, everyone. We're being recorded. So always let you know. But I think when you come in, it tells you. I think. Does it tell you when you come in?
No.
No, it doesn't. Oh. Well, I like to tell, so that way.
Oh, yes, at the top left.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's in red.
Good. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna also go on my other laptop and take attendance while we wait for everyone to come in. Oh, Antoinette, she was just there. Did I lose you? Antoinette, you were there, but we lost you. Is it a connection?
It may be. Her block says that she's connecting to audio.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll make it work. We do what we do. So I'm looking down because I'm taking attendance on my other platform. So we're 8 weeks in.
Countdown.
Yes.
Countdown to summer. Hopefully it'll be a little better by summer.
Yes. Summer, it's always like a fresh start.
Uh-huh. Yep.
This is our board meeting. I'm not going to do that. I don't need that. Anybody else coming in?
No. Got her blanket.
I'll change it. Let me change this.
Nice and warm.
Yes, cold.
You're cold? Oh.
I know the sun is nice and bright, but it's a chill in here too.
Say chat. I am more. Here we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Kevin, how are you? I just changed it so everyone can enter into our meeting. Actually, no, I'm going to put it back just so we can manage that. And I'll explain a little bit why. Oh, I think I shared last week already about the Zoom stuff, right?
About what?
That was earlier this week.
Oh, that was in another meeting. I'm like so many Zoom meetings. So, okay.
Oh, Lord, I just lost y'all. Oh.
Let me see if I remember how to do attendance.
Okay, something happened. I got to go back in. I don't know what's going on here.
Practical. I'm going to text Miss Diane and Dr. Scott.
Professor Ham, while you're taking attendance, et cetera, can I ask the things that we've discussed in terms of what would be helpful to us as students to ensure that we get our hours, et cetera, can we get something in writing, whether it comes from the counseling department, like Miss Irby? I forgot her new last name now that she's married, but Johnson. Okay, so from her or just something, can we get something in writing, just like for our records, that, you know, classes will count for hours and
listening,
all of that stuff? That would be helpful. And then also, and if this cuts into one of your updates, then I can definitely wait. But if there have been any updates in terms of just, you know, moving forward, what will happen for us, since most of us, if not all, are due to graduate this fall, and things like that.
Yeah. Well, first, perfect question. The update that you would get, we actually had a meeting earlier today with Ms. Bryant, Ms. Diane, Dr. Scott, Dr. Taylor, Dr. Williams, and it just so happened, in full disclosure, and Ms. Bryant may have shared this before, you might already know this, that Dean Jetter is her sister. So during this time, Dean Jetter was actually there at the meeting. Wasn't supposed to be having the dean in our meeting, but she was there because quarantine and we're living in this new reality. And so we will probably have definitive information to formally share out once the faculty, so we met the counseling, those who are teaching practicum and internship. And then the faculty is meeting tomorrow to finalize. And so then moving forward for getting something informalized, it would probably come after the faculty meeting. So does that help? So our faculty meeting is tomorrow. So it would probably come after that faculty meeting and writing. And it would probably come from Dr. Williams, or it may even just come directly from the dean because of this, but just as significant of this as a challenge. But what I can share out, well, let me do this in terms of, and I'm trying to connect to my, to send them the Zoom because I want to see if they are, here we go, meetings. Okay. I just sent them the link. So what I'll do in the interest, so we met, and one of the things that we met about was we talked about specifically your hours. So one of the things, let me see if that is still up there. If I still have it up, I may have taken it down. Is what KCREP is saying. That is who we are governed by.
Professor Ham, James is saying that this is the second time he's saying that he's not getting the link for the Zoom thing.
Okay.
So just,
is this
On Blackboard.
yeah, I told him that it's on Blackboard as well, but he didn't get it. So I'm just going to forward it to you. But just as a heads up, he's saying that he's not getting it.
Okay, yeah, that's not good, especially because James should be getting it. But who's this? This is a 202 number. Do we know this number? 202.
That's not James. He has a 301 number.
202. I'm going to say it out loud just in case. Well, I'm going to ask them who they are. And I'll explain to you why I'm this way now. But
Nikki, I'm saying Nakia. I don't know if that's a person of somebody that's in our class, but that's the name that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in the class.
That's it. She's in the class. I know Nakia.
Yes, and I know why you're being this way. I got the email through my job about the FBI warning.
Yes. Let's see. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I don't know a nice way to say who is this. So I'm saying it to who is this? The person in the waiting room. But Derica, you sent it to James. Does he have the link now? Okay, and I apologize. And I'll wait for who that person is before I omit them. So while we're talking, so I'll share that out right now. But yes, Nakia, exactly. The FBI warning really is, there's James, so I met him. Hey, James, I'm sorry we didn't, I'm disappointed. I'm so sorry that you didn't. Oh, I think this is Dr. Scott. Let me text him and see if Dr. Scott is trying to join us.
Hey,
There you are. Hey, Jane.
James.
Let me see if this is Dr. Scott. Are you trying to join us? I know was having some technical difficulties, and I think this is him. So I'm going to admit him, but if anything crazy happens, I'm about to shut it down and we'll start back up again. Okay.
Got it.
I think, is this Dr. Scott? I think this might be Dr. Scott. I know you had technical difficulties, so I remember the number from before. Let me unmute him. Dr. Scott?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. You know, I'm very cautious now, Dr. Scott. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you out there in the cold. Hello?
Hold on.
I'm
here.
Okay. Do you want me to mute you again or you want me to leave you unmuted?
Le-
Uh-oh. I think you're having technical
No,
difficulties.
no, I miss hearing what you said.
I said, do you want me to leave you muted or unmuted? Are you having technical difficulties?
No, leave me so I can hear and talk.
Okay, great. So I was just explaining to them why. So I'll go back first. I'll explain to you why we're doing Zoom this way with the, and I just encourage you as you are going into your practicums and being very cautious with Zoom and all online platforms. I am probably a Zoom person who has used Zoom for a number of years before all of this. I've had an account for a number of years with Zoom, probably the past 2 or 3 years, and have used it without any challenges and sing its praises. But like with anything, there are challenges. So on Friday, and James, we had shared in our earlier meeting, so if you were there on Tuesday, I'm going to mute him now. On Tuesday, if you were there on, or yesterday, so long ago, yesterday, I shared, but I'm going to share again as a cautionary. Just be cautious with Zoom. We were Zoom bombed. Maryland School Council Association was Zoom bombed on Friday during the training. And to make a long story short, it was not pleasant. They were very disrespectful and said a lot of inappropriate things, racial slurs, which I took personal offense because I was leading the meeting. And so they called me names that, moving on. And so as immediately I shut that down because that's just not tolerated. Right. And so we opened it back up and it began again. And so we then had to move to a private message. I thought that was probably the biggest concern with being careful of sharing it publicly. Enabling a waiting room is another avenue of what I'm doing now. So you kind of enable a waiting room. If you don't know who's there, then don't let them in. It's like your house, just don't let them come in, or you get confirmation of who they are. The other concern or the other part is, I'm mute. Dr. Scott, you were talking for a moment, so I muted you. But just in the
okay, I'm back.
No, you're good. The other part, though, I thought that was the biggest piece. But today, my son, in full disclosure, well, like everybody, has kids that are learning on a Zoom platform. His Spanish class, they're working on a Spanish play. And I was sitting downstairs monitoring the Zoom play rehearsal because it was just the students in the Zoom room. The teacher had said, you guys can meet, because he's in middle school. You guys kind of meet after school and work on your play, like you go to a room. So they set up a separate room for them to meet, not even a break, like a separate Zoom, like all again. And just because I'm that type of parent, I just sat down, not that I was in, but I was in the same room so I could hear what was going on. And I heard some of the students was like, who is that? Who's Billy? I don't know. And it began, stop playing. No, I'm not playing. What is the person writing? They're writing in another language. The person wrote in Korean because one of the kids figured it out. They said hello, and then they said, I like children. So I was like, we're shutting it down. And so they were like, no, I can get them out. They were able to kick that person out. But then someone else popped in. They said, another person's popping in, a participant number 1. And then they were like, I'm gonna try and get that out. And then a participant number 2. Now these 2 people remained silent and had their video on. And they were like, how did they find us? How did they find us? Because it wasn't publicized. This was not publicized. It wasn't anywhere out there. It was password, only and stuff like that. So I just say, be mindful of Zoom. I love Zoom, but I'm very, very cautious now of Zoom. And so I'm glad that I was there. I actually immediately told my son to turn his camera off and turn his mic off. I'm now starting to think, as we see our names are there, about changing to having my identifying information and my name out there so you can change it in your profile. I just haven't had a chance to do that. So I might just say Inham or something like that. So that way people know, but not all my information. But it is like, Derica, you're smart, DM. So, something that is not all out there, just because I think that one of his classmates says, he was like, oh yeah, people do it all the time. They just type in member ID numbers, meeting ID numbers, and find meetings and just jump in them. And so I think these are the things we know about, but I really strongly feel that I think Zoom is great because there's an encryption, but I'm also cautious because I think that people can access it, and they are accessing it. And I just think these are the ones we know about. So I'm just encouraging you.
Nikki?
Yes, go ahead.
Just before we went on, I don't know if we had time to look at your inbox email.
Yeah.
One of my national organization had just sent meet, hence how to avoid Zoom,
Yep.
how to avoid it.
Yep.
So I sent it to you and Dr. Williams.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll send that out and share that out with the class as well. I'll post that.
Right.
But I want you guys to be, thank you, Dr. Scott. I think I saw it quickly, but then, but to be just cautious of it because,
Right.
and I think Zoom is just one platform. I don't think that it is, like I see Mac user. Who's missing? That's not here.
Brooke?
Okay.
Mac user probably means the person has a MacBook.
Yeah. Hey, Cassandra. I'll type and ask who they are. So as you see, I'm like, I tell people I jokingly say, but I'm definitely a bouncer now because I just, I want you to be, but I would encourage as well if, so the other part, we had a meeting and Dr. Scott was there, in which there's Brooke, in which we approved and we talked about certain things that we are approving. And one of those is really saying that you are approved to do, we don't want to approve you to do social emotional counseling, one-on-one social emotional counseling via this virtual platform, just because I worry about security, privacy, FERPA issues. I'm going to put on, we can't hear you, Dr. Scott. Social emotional issues or those sort of things. What we will approve you to do is activities in the realm of academics, college and career readiness. So it might look like helping people set up with Naviance or developing if they're doing virtual career days. So meeting with your students and finding out what they're interested in, getting them, in terms of figuring out their colleges that they want to list, particularly like their juniors, start identifying colleges. So having conversations around that. But we don't want you to do check-ins or conversations with students who around issues of anxiety, depression, sadness, all of those sort of things. It feels counterproductive because that's what we would be doing during this time. But on lots of layers, we're concerned because one, we haven't trained you to use this platform. I think this is a different way of doing counseling. And it's not something that you can just easily forge into. The second part is it's also, I think, really challenging because we want to make sure that we are protecting your safety, but protecting the safety of students. And so as you're sharing confidential information, or they may be disclosing, very sensitive information, I don't know if this is a platform that is really going to be the greatest setting to do that. I know Prince George's is looking at doing Doxy.me. I don't know if they are purchasing it or not. And that would be something we would want you to, if you were going to utilize, to use. But even getting there, that requires, I did an hour, 15-minute or hour training. That is really, I think, a layered process with that. So as it stands right now, we are saying you can do to earn those direct hours, but we really want you, and we sent an email out. So Prince George, all the counties that you're in, we sent an email out to their supervisors saying that one, that we want you to have direct hour experience, but we want it to be more so college and career readiness or academic time management, organizational skills. We want that to be. So Lana, I think you had asked and we had agreed about the tutoring. Yes, and we would really like it to be focused on, if you can, on time management, organization, study skills. So if you can find those activities and doing that and working with students around those things, and this platform, that's what we would want you to do. Not because we don't think you have the competency to do the social emotional piece, just we're concerned about this platform to do that on.
Hello, Nikki?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm here, Dr. Scott.
Oh, do you see where I'm trying to get in?
Oh, you Mac user? Yes, that's where we didn't let you in. I told you I'm watching it now.
Okay.
I'm like the bouncer here. I don't let everybody in. Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See, I told you guys, I don't play now with this.
problem.
So, any questions about that?
So is it still okay for us to assist the school counselors at our job as well as our site directors? Because my site supervisor as of last week, didn't have anything for me. She did suggest I watch webinars. But say, for instance, I reached out to the school counselor where at my job, she had spoke about Naviance. If she needed help with that, would I be able to help her with that?
I think typically, traditionally, we've said that's not something, but I think that right now, and again, calls for unprecedented things. I think, however, I would just want to double check with Dr. Williams and make sure that that's okay with him. And then, so Nikki, if you can send me an email, and then what I can do is I can circle back around and touch base with Dr. Williams and get his input and suggestion, as well as talking to Dr. Scott and Ms. Bryant to see if that's something. Does that sound good?
Okay, yep.
So send me an
Thank you.
email to do that, to find that out. Any other questions? Katrina?
The one-on-one sessions that the counselors are having, are we able to sit in on those?
Yeah, I mean, you can sit in if they would let you sit in and observe. We just don't want you to do them if they're social emotional, if there's going to be those social emotional. But if they have students that are like your DE list, if there are students that are on the DE list that you need to meet with or touch, I don't even know what they're doing right now, but who are in danger of failing, or they're students who need organizational skills or those sort of things, that's what we want you to kind of focus on. But certainly if they are meeting collectively with them, the students, and you can sit in on it, then yes, then definitely. If it's, like a wellness check-in, mental health wellness check-in, then yes. We just don't want you doing that by yourself. Because here's the thing, the school systems right now, and as I've checked with them, they really don't have a protocol in place for suicide risk and reporting. In full disclosure, many of you may or may not know, my husband's a school counselor in Montgomery County. And just today, I have like so many real life stories. He received an email from a teacher who was teaching a class, and a student said, after this lesson, I want to commit suicide. And he's the counselor. And he's like, what do I do? He hasn't even been given a directive. So I worked through a plan that was similar to what is already in place, which is first, the teacher, keep the student with the teacher, because he can't go pull the student because the student's in the virtual class, so he can't log in and get that student and stuff like that. So to hold the student in the class, keep the class going, make sure the student stays present, reach out to the parent, reach out to the administrator, and then at that time, if we couldn't reach out to the parent to get the parent connected to touch base, to then reach out to the mobile, in Montgomery County, they have a crisis team, to reach out to the crisis team if you couldn't get in contact with the parent. If they did get in contact with the parent, provide the parent the resources for the crisis team. But he can't really, he can get on to talk, but at the same time, it's very different. So we don't want to put you in those positions, in those situations, if we can avoid it. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen when you're doing an academic counseling or college and career, but let's not get ourselves in that space and then you're put in a position where there really isn't a protocol in place, so you don't really have a protocol to monitor and follow. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Switching gears just a little bit. Would you and Dr. Scott, would you all be able to calculate the total number of hours that we'll have had at the end of the semester from what's being substituted? So for example, you mentioned that our class times will count towards our hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you be able to calculate all of the hours that you all are going to give us for the activities that we complete, such as attending classes, sort of like a point system, I guess, so that way we can kind of keep track of how much we need to make up. So for example, McNamara is going on spring break next week. Mm-hmm. And so I don't expect the counselors to be working. Mm-hmm. Last week we met briefly, but before that the school was closed just because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So I am planning to take some time off from work so I can make up hours, and I just want to know how many I'll need to make up to hit the 100 mark. So again, if you could just let us know, like for example, by the end of the semester, starting from, let's say March 10th was the date that we all went virtual. If you did attend every class from that point moving forward, then you should have these many hours just from attending class. And then we can subtract that from the total 100.
What we could do is definitely tell you the hours for the class in terms
Okay.
of the activities and things like that you independently, that would just be something you would keep track of, but we could
Right.
definitely tell you the hours from the class. We can definitely
Okay.
get that part out, send that out.
Last week, you said that KCREP you're gonna contact KCREP. Did they made any changes to hours?
Perfect. So that leads into the other part. I think Ms. Bryant also called, so let me call her. I saw that she just called, so I'm trying to see if she, I see that she called, so hang on a second. This is a lot going on. So let's see. But I was also sharing out, so I'm going to share out. I went to KCREP's page.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, am I having a problem?
Yeah, we're here in class. You're trying to get in?
I was trying to get in from the link from last week.
No, I just sent a link to you again, and probably is a different meeting link. Oh, I've learned my lesson. I'm telling you, I don't just give out the, it's like telling you, it's like getting into a club. The password changes every week.
Okay. Thank you. I'll try that.
Yeah, I sent it to you in a text message to Dr. Scott and you. So try that.
Okay.
Let me know if you need it again. I can. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye. All right. I might be telling on myself in my younger days. But yes, I've learned I don't put this information out there. So let me move this out the way. So this is the part that KCREP is clear. So students who are unable to complete practicum requirements at this time, upon return to normal practice, may enroll in internship at the same term. However, the students must successfully complete all practicum requirements prior to commencing with internship. So if you get to this point where at the end of this semester, you have not completed your, so everybody sees that, right?
Yeah.
You don't see
Oh,
it?
okay. Now it's okay.
Right here. Yeah, this is it. If we get to that point where you don't able to, let's see. Oh, look at that. I'm going to use my highlighter. What am I going to do? Spotlight. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to, but there it is. I circled it for you. Don't laugh at my drawing. If you get to this point where at the end of this semester, you don't have that 100 hours, we are under KCREP can have you go on to internship. So this won't hold you up from internship and continue on in internship, accruing out your practicum hours and your internship hours all together. So that is the case. If that's a big, if that is not happening. Again, the other option will be, and I think Brooke, I was able to confirm, so I'm going to stop sharing because I can't see everything now. Brooke, I confirmed that it would be an incomplete, unfortunately, so we checked that out. So it would be an incomplete if you don't have the hours and you go into the internship. If you complete the hours, the 100 hours, then it wouldn't be incomplete. But if we still have hours that need to carry over into internship, it would be incomplete, in which it would turn into a completion upon whatever the contract is. So let's say, we say the contract says not at the end of the class, but at the completion of, and it's a contract that, Dr. Scott, between the professor and the instructor, so we can determine what the terms of that are, in terms of, maybe you say, I feel like I will have this done by this date, and then that's the contract. So then it would change from an I to a pass, because remember, this is a pass-fail class, so it turns out.
Right. So the likelihood of, okay, I already know my plan. Like, I have to sit down and go over all my logs for my hours and figure out how much I have. But there's a sufficient amount of time to get our hours in.
Yeah, so that's why I want to also talk about, today when we met with Dr. Scott, Dr. Williams, Ms. Bryant, Dr. Taylor, and actually Dean Jetter was there. So we all met and it was agreed upon. So let me go over the things. And this is Derica. We have a faculty meeting tomorrow, and it'll be recorded in the minutes and notes. And then probably, like I said, we can ask for whether it's Dr. Williams or someone to send that out. So we are working in partnership with Prince George's County Public Schools. for a lot of reasons, we have a really great partnership with them. Full disclosure, I used to be central office staff, so that's probably a part of it too. And so they realize they have a need and you have a need. They need help for their school counselors navigating this. And we have a need because our students need hours. And so they want to do whatever they need to have that happen for our students. So the first one is they want for us to partner with, and we're working in partnership with University of Maryland, College Park, and doing this collaboration where there's practicum and school counseling intern students and our practicum and school counseling students will work as in collaboration, kind of like this think tank to develop personal, social, emotional lessons. One of them would be, or thoughts, as Ms. Bryant was calling them, for 5 minutes or so, 10 or 5 minutes on a variety of different platforms. So the reality is what we talk a lot about is that students have this technology gap, where some students have technology and access to it and some don't. But we do know a lot of people have technology to TikTok and like Instagram. I'm not asking you guys to do a TikTok video, but if you're creative, that would be great. So maybe you do a lesson on, we were looking at and talking about when we say personal safety or personal, social, emotional, on things, for example, such as managing emotions around COVID, dealing with grief. These would be lessons that you would do, or thoughts using the platform. And we want you to be as creative as possible on Instagram, for example. So maybe working in collaboration, we would develop maybe an Instagram page and put those information out there for students in Prince George's County and probably others to access. And even then maybe they would be short thoughts, and then we could direct them to maybe a YouTube page that would have longer 30-minute, 40-minute lessons, depending on ages. And it'd be as creative as you want in terms of preparing that information. You physically don't have to be there. It could be more so whether you feel more comfortable providing the resources and research information, and then figuring out a creative way to put it there. Or if you feel comfortable, to be present and kind of to do that. But I think it's helpful because right now there are a lot of people, just like adults, who are feeling a lot of grief, scared, sadness, a lot of emotions. So are students. And so getting information around that are specific to COVID-19. There's information about anxiety, there's information about grief, but there's not talking about living in a global pandemic, which I don't think anybody really prepared for. And so I think that that would be a great platform. We're not asking you to create it today or tomorrow. We are really looking at probably the middle of April or so to start putting that information out there. And it's not independently just you. Will be a collaboration with us, with maybe the intern students who want to do that, and then as well as University of Maryland, College Park. So these could be things, and definitely a lot of hours in which you could work on, spend that not alone by yourself, but at home, and in terms of adding to, and then just keeping track of those hours. So that's a first project. How does that sound to everyone?
That's good. I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Sure, go ahead, Lana.
So it's the only platform, because some of those social media sites I'm not on. Is that the main platform?
Oh, no. We were just saying I was just citing those were the common ones that young adults use. And you don't have to go on the platform, just maybe preparing the material, even whether you maybe are writing up a script. So, no one's saying you have to act it up, but maybe you creating a script can't get my words, script. That is aligning with, and Prince George's County has been wonderful. They actually shared their, they have a website that has so much information for their school counselors and talking about their curriculum. So they shared that out as well in terms of that. So even to have you take a look at that and kind of, it says meetings, hold on a moment. Ms. Scott, I'm saying this. Let me send this out again. Hold on a second. I apologize. Oh, I gave her the wrong one. Okay. There we go. So it's just, I was just using those as examples. So you want to be creative and thinking about that. So what we will probably do is I sent a couple of people sent interest in wanting to do that. If you send me that email, and then I will direct it, and kind of I'm working with Dr. Natasha Mitchell, who's at University of Maryland College Park, and they have practicum and intern students simultaneously, and kind of maybe scheduling a time for all of us to meet together, and then kind of saying, okay, guys, working together and kind of identifying what task or how does that breakout look like. So that's that first activity to accrue and get some hours. All right. Any thoughts? So all you need to do is just send me an email, and then what we will do is work from there in terms of starting to maybe schedule a time. The other activity we talked about was with Prince George's County is they need help with getting their students into Naviance. Are any of you familiar with Naviance?
Nope.
It is a good, some people are nodding their head. It is, does anybody want to share what it is if they're familiar with it?
So when students apply for college, I believe it's actually not phasing out Common App, but it's somewhat similar to Common App. So they create a profile, and it has a dashboard for them to upload their documents to apply to multiple schools.
Oh, okay.
So it's similar to like Common App, the Black Common App, things like that. And there's a new one that they're using too, newer than Naviance, but yeah.
Okay.
And it's definitely an online platform. Can you see? No, I'm done sharing my screen. It's an online platform to share information, but it can't be used if people aren't registered for it. So schools like, for example, Greenbelt Middle School and High Point High, where we both have interns right now, need to work on adding students or getting students to utilize that. So that is definitely something we would want and need help with in terms of, there she is. We would want and need help with. Hi, Miss Diane. She's muted. Hi. Uh-oh, she muted herself back, but we'll leave her muted then. And so, you would be able to really provide assistance with doing that and kind of getting set up and straight away. Hi, Miss Diane.
Okay. I'm good.
Good. Hi, we're just talking about the reviewing from the meeting today, the activities.
Okay.
So, just, getting them set up with Naviance so they can get logged in. So that would definitely be an activity where we would need your help. And it would probably be correct, because in some cases you may be going with students to say, do you have, here's how you do a Naviance, or providing assistance for them to log into Naviance and kind of what that process of getting them registered for that. And so I sent a doodle out. I sent it out to all of you guys, right? Did I send it out to everybody, right?
I think, yeah, yes.
So hopefully if you were interested, there was a webinar to get you trained on how to use it. And so they were just trying to identify a time. Again, Prince George's County has been wonderful, but they're like, because we need help. So we are willing to do a training to train you on it. I encourage, if you are, if your schedule allows to identify a time and then still attend the webinar training, because I think it's a great resource to know about Naviance and how to utilize it, because you may or may not have it in your school-based setting. And all of those who are at elementary levels, they are looking at some point. I think they do have an element, but if not, trust me, Naviance is coming for the elementary, because they didn't have a middle school component for many years. So it would not surprise me if they move to the elementary level. So that is another activity that, in partnership with Prince George's County, we're working on. Katrina, go ahead.
When we were in the training yesterday, a bunch of internship students were talking about rolling over hours from practicum. Are we eligible to roll over our direct hours into internship as well?
Yes, you're out in terms of using additional hours. That is, you're in that group of people that you can roll over your hours. So if you do beyond hours, you're going to roll those over into your internship.
Okay, thank you.
Is that only if it's in excess of 100?
Yeah, it would be excess of 100 hours.
Okay.
So to follow up on those two questions, and what you just shared with us on your screen from KCREP, did they say anything regarding allowing us to complete hours, pardon me, in the summer if, because it looks as though we will be in the house into the summer.
Yeah.
So like, was anything said about us being able to complete hours in the summer? I mean, granted, we want the kids to like have a summer break, but under normal circumstances, we ourselves wouldn't be working in the summer. So is that possible moving
I
forward?
think what you're talking about is like the internship. You mean like start doing the internship earlier
Yes.
into the summertime. I think that's a conversation we can have with KCREP because I think that is one of the accommodations that we want to be able to possibly modify or to where we are in conversation with KCREP as well as not just us, a lot of these because to get some guidance or support regarding how we can maybe modify or accommodate hours, direct and indirect hours, and the requirements that KCREP is asking. So I don't have a definitive answer for that, but what I know that Bowie State, it's Bowie State's intention to be able to be as flexible as possible to allow you to earn the hours that you need to earn in order to graduate by your anticipated graduation date. And so we are working very hard to make sure that happens. Reaching out to other universities to see what modifications they're doing and kind of what KCREP is saying. So I know that's not a definitive answer, but it's kind of letting you know what we're doing. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question.
Yes.
We really about to be like this till summer?
Now, that I don't know.
You haven't been watching the updates? Probably.
Also, what does that do for summer semester?
That I don't know either. I don't know. I wish I had an answer. You know, I don't.
There's so many things we don't know from day to day, depending on how things change. Depends on what they can ultimately do.
Yeah.
This is so hard.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I had a suggestion.
Yeah, Cassandra and then Tanise. That's how Tanise had her hand up. Go ahead, Cassandra.
Okay. One thing my counselor was doing on my site is that she's still doing her newsletters, but she's doing them virtually, sending them out to all the parents. So she asked me to do some portions of it. So that's what I had worked on a few hours earlier this week, and I did a section for parents, self-care for parents.
Great.
At home. And then I did an activity, a video, and I kind of edited the video for the girl group that I was actually working with, just to send them something. It was just an activity that they could do.
Good.
But, the self-care parents, it was a lot of articles out there, and I've been using like some tips that I've been doing at home. And it was something else I was going to say, but I forgot.
All right, it'll come back to you.
Yeah, that's it.
I know you said that we can try to get more hours over the summer or try to make up hours during our internship. And I know some people have the opportunity to get those direct hours now. I think that I'll be able to make up the indirect hours, the gap between like the 60 hours that we need for indirect. But the 40 hours is what I'm struggling with. And I was just wondering, what suggestions do you guys have to gain direct hours? I know I missed the last class, but I did go back to watch the video, and I forgot who it was who was saying that they were volunteering with like feeding the students. I was just wondering if that would be the only way, like that would be the only suggestion that you have for us to get those direct hours, or like how can we reach out to gain it?
Well, what I was just saying, so for example, the preparation of the lessons, and then if, depending on if your site supervisor allows you to deliver them, that will be one of them. The Naviance piece of it, particularly if we were able to have you connect with High Point and Greenbelt. So that's not the school you're assigned at, but they need a lot of assistance with reaching out to students and figuring out how to get them online, to register them with Naviance. So one, attending the webinar, and then you would attend the webinar and then working in collaboration with Prince George's County, getting students registered into Naviance. You would have contact with them, whether it's via email. It's not ideal because we would like you to have synchronous in terms of that part of it. But we understand that sometimes depending on it, it may or may not happen, or they may have a Zoom. I don't know how they want to do that rollout on getting students registered in Naviance, but you may have to, whether it's Zoom or reach out via a Google Voice number or something like that to call them to get them on, or emailing them or something like that. So that's another direct hour we're looking at for that as an opportunity.
How close is she to getting her 40 hours?
I don't know that.
Okay.
A little over halfway.
Okay.
So, question, you mentioned like preparing the lessons. So I thought that was indirect. So can we roll over like our indirect to direct?
No. What I was saying is, if you did the lessons, and then maybe if you were delivering the lessons, I don't know. You don't have to do that. What I was saying is, one of them is the introduction of those lessons, but then two of it, or creating them. But maybe you decided to deliver them, and that would be something that we would. It is not ideal, because our ideal way is we want there to be,
Interaction.
But we also have to realize that we are in an unprecedented time. And that schools are even reluctant. And again, I've learned my lesson from Zoom. I am very cautious now, and I would encourage school systems to be very cautious about having platforms like that and having classes. So I think that it's going to look different. I think it looks this way right now. I would not be surprised in 2 weeks if
yeah.
Because of the experience I just had with my son on Friday.
Right.
Wait, what?
What happened, Brooke? What's the matter? You okay?
What's wrong with Zoom?
Okay, so you came in later. So a brief synopsis. Zoom, this is Nikki Ham's personal experience, so don't, but I've had two very challenging experience. One, I was Zoom bombed, not me personally, but the Maryland School Council Association was Zoom bombed on Friday when someone was saying pornographic pictures and racial slurs. And so 2 times throughout the meeting, not 2 times, we shut the meeting down one time, they came back again and did it a second time. And then most recently today, my son was on Zoom doing Spanish, Spanish rehearsal for a play in his Spanish class. And on 3 different occasions, someone came into the classroom that was not in his class in the Zoom place. And they did not say anything inappropriately, thank goodness. Well, one person said in Korea they like children, but another was just sitting there watching and observing, but they were on mute and you couldn't see them. And so I just say all that to say that I think that I would be cautious of using those platforms. And I'm imagining school systems will begin. I hope they don't have these experiences, but I would encourage you as you work with your students to be cautious of using these platforms just because they are not as private as
right.
Thought
They're having us use like Microsoft Teams for work.
Really?
Yeah.
Those same things, they're having the same problem with Microsoft Teams?
No, that's why they have us using it, I think.
Oh, that's why yes, that might be even better. I know people are using Google. So yeah, Bowie uses
Google.
Microsoft. We're a Microsoft school system. And so Microsoft Teams, it would provide security because the only way you send an invitation out and then people have to be kind of in your network to be able to use it. It does provide. So I think that if they move to that, right now, a lot of people are using Zoom. So that means that it's really kind of open. But I think I know some people are using Google and Google Hangout, which internally, if you have the internal system feature turned on, then it would just be people internally would only be able to access, which I think is the smartest thing to do, the best thing to do. But I know Tani stepped away, but those would be the best things I would recommend for direct hours, which are the delivery of those lessons. And it's not ideal. Hey, delivery of those lessons, it's not ideal in the sense that we want you to deliver face to face, but I think that we are looking at the reality that you may deliver the lesson. And so we view that as delivery of a service to students. And then the other part is the Naviance. And then last but not least, for activities is, let's see, there was another thing we had talked about. Hold on a moment. Personal, social, virtual. If you participate in any school-wide program. So let's say, for example, and we'll check and find out if people are having college signing days or virtual career days or anything like that. If you're participating in any of those big school-wide events, that would be very much considered direct services that you would be providing to a school or to a counselor. And as we find out of those things, I definitely will send it to you to let you know of an activity that you can, participate where they need help, of a practicum student or something, to help, particularly with direct hours. So those are the activities that we are working for, advocating and making sure you have those opportunities.
So Bowie High School is still planning their graduation. I mean, it's going to be the summer, but they're planning it. So that's direct, you said?
They're doing a graduation? They're planning to do graduation?
They're planning a grad. They don't know when it's going to be, but
bless them.
Just in case.
Yeah, if they do, and you participate, yes, it's direct.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to go back a little bit, you said emails from students will be sufficient. Like,
yeah, it's not ideal, but in this where we are right now, I mean, we need to probably double check and certainly check with Dr. Williams. But I feel in the sense of, if your school system, if you're not doing virtual, like if you're communicating with the students and giving them information and resources in that way, I don't, I think that has to count, because you may or may not be able to call them. You may or not be that, because there's some parents who are like, no, I'm not having my child on. I'm about to be that way. I'm not having my child on Zoom. I'm not having my child on Google Hangout. So you can email my child and that's it. And that, what are you going to do?
they have me doing registration for the 11th graders, and they would prefer me do emailing them back and forth for a paper trail. So I was just making sure that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Dr. Scott, Miss Diane, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that should be sufficient.
Yeah.
Of course, we're not the final authorities,
right?
But from our standpoint of view, we think it should be sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, I think Dr. Scott's trying to talk, but he's muted.
Uh-oh.
Hello?
Go ahead, Dr. Scott.
There's two I wanted to share. We were talking about the time frame, and I've been in contact with MSDE, and of course, the current superintendent, she was scheduled to leave, and but they have extended her contract to next year because of the crisis. Two things that they're bringing to the state board is the school year. The two things that are on the table: school will either go to the end of June, or if school open back up in the end of April, schools will be on an extended day. Those are the two things that are on the table: either extended day or extended year to June.
My question, I mean, I know you just said, but what happens if we are not cleared by like May?
Right. This is part of the plan. If we are clear.
Okay.
And so they got plan A, B, C, and D right now on the table. Because right now it's still iffy. But these are some of the things that was shared with me.
Wow.
Especially since Dr. Salmon's contract is up for another year, because can nobody come in and do this transition, as a new superintendent?
No.
The other I want to share, in light with Naviance and providing lessons, and I contacted the State Department because I remember we at the state of Maryland has a career development framework from pre-K to post-secondary. And I sent you the link.
Yeah, you did. Yep. Yeah.
And in that plan, there are lessons for every grade level.
Okay.
That means career. And they can also adjust it to social emotional. They can also relate it to career decision making. And it includes all the 3 domains for school counselors.
Great.
Oh, that's wonderful.
What? I will share that with Prince George's County, but also, do you want me to put it out on the Blackboard?
Yeah, it can go out to Whiteboard. In fact, MSDE, what I sent you, the whole list, the litany of things,
Yeah.
they sent to the counselors.
Oh, okay, great.
What they could do, because right now, there's another thing, and that we talked about in our last practicum, the Maryland College application campaign.
Yes.
Which requires 10th and 11th graders to start preparing for colleges.
Yeah.
And so a lot of schools are up in the air. So this is another arena that counselors could, as well as our students, could assist school counselors, helping students to finish, because a lot of them, they were supposed to finish by April.
Yeah.
Filling out applications, but that's out the window. But they say they're so far behind trying to complete those applications.
Right.
Filling out FAFSA and those type of things. So that's in the list that I sent you that can be shared with, with our counselors or our interns.
Okay, I definitely will. I'll share that out. So I'll post that on Blackboard for everyone to see. But I think that we want to just definitely make sure we are helping you out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done enough talking. Any check in terms of how you guys are doing, and while you're doing that now, I'll try and remember how to take attendance again on Blackboard.
I just have a quick question, if that was okay. So I talked to my site supervisor, and the last thing that I had actually seen, but there's more now, but beforehand it said she was asking me something about like making phone calls home to people about their technology resources and stuff, and I didn't know like what is our, not even just our protocol on that, but like also like can they actually give me all these kids' information to call home? Like,
well, they're trying to, I can tell you a little bit about that. They're trying to make sure that that they don't want to announce that they have Chromebooks or computers to give away, but they do have some. And so they're having you call the students to check on their availability to see if they have a computer or a Chromebook, and if they have if they're connected to the internet, because some children may not be able to do the work because they're not connected. So they need to have someone there has to be a way for you to get in to talk to them about that. So I'm not sure exactly what maybe Ms. Ham, do you know what the PG County's protocol is for doing that?
Well, I would imagine if they are giving you the information to reach out in this time, then I don't think that they are. Now, I would not use your personal cell phone number.
right.
So when I did the training, I showed how to set up a Google Voice email. Oh, no, not email. Google Voice telephone number. And I can show real quick. It's very simple.
Google Voice telephone number. I'll get you to send me to me, Nikki, because I'd like to get that.
Yeah, here I'm about to show you right now. Let's see. If you just go to Google and then just put in Google Voice, it comes up, and then you click there. You see my screen, right? I'm make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my account, my screen is probably broken. So it's our family account. So it's going to automatically pick up. But you'll know whatever your Gmail account telephone number is registered to, that's where this number will. So I'm going to pick Lay Hill, Maryland. And then this is a telephone number. And then I'm going to select it. And that's your number. And then I would click verify, and it would verify to my existing number. But this can then be my number.
But that number it answers on your phone, but it's not.
It forwards to my phone. So it will forward. That's why they want to verify it to your existing telephone number. And it'll forward to my telephone, and it will, so that way it would, and I don't know if anyone else has used Google Voice, but it rings to this phone because it's tied to, or whatever phone you have your Google number tied to, but they won't know your quote unquote telephone number, but it looks like a telephone number that you have. Has anybody else used Google Voice before in the past? Is that correct? Is that accurate, pretty much what I was sharing?
I used it when I planned the SAS conference like 2 years ago
Mhm.
for like the vendors and to keep it with faculty. And so, as you said, like it'll come directly to your phone. When people call the number, it'll ask them to like say what their name is. And so that way you can kind of get a screening of who's calling based on the name that they provide before it gets to your phone. But you can send texts with it. You can receive voicemails with it. So yeah, and it's free, I believe.
Oh, that's what I say. Is it free?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Brooke, I did the same thing you had to do, well, as a teacher, to try and see who has technology, and I used the Google Voice, and it worked fine. So that should be fun.
That's a really good idea for the teachers. Like, I didn't even think about that because I forgot y'all still have to like communicate with your students and stuff.
Yeah.
Google Voice. Yeah.
So Brooke, when you signed up, part of the not contract, but the agreement that we signed is you are operating as a part of the Prince George's County, not being paid, but employee or faculty. You're not a paid person, but so that's why you had to do are you in Prince George's County or you Charles County?
Prince George.
Yeah, so that's why you had to do criminal background and all of that stuff, because they're saying we give you information and these resources. So you're sharing that with you. Then you've been deputized, so you have the authority to do that. But I would just protect yourself. So I would do either email or I would do other piece. I would do a Google voicemail or something like that to do that. I wouldn't give your personal information, because trust me, once people have your phone number, there's nothing.
That's it. That's it.
With Google Voice, you can shut it down, and then you're.
I had a parent from 3 years ago call me about a month ago.
Yeah.
Because I had to call. I called her house. She was looking for me. I was sick. She called my house. I answered the phone. But then 3 years later, she still had my number in her phone.
Yeah. So you gotta be careful of that.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of teachers get caught up with that type of stuff.
Yeah. So Google Voice is good.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Anybody else want to touch base and see, or will share how maybe they've touched base with their site supervisor or what they're doing, or
Anybody not have touched base with their supervisor yet? So everyone's heard from their supervisor.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Lena or Lana, she's muted.
I can't unmute her.
Because she had those headphones plugged in.
Yeah, it won't let me unmute. I'm gonna tell her.
Well, why you?
Maybe she should be able to unmute herself though.
Mm-hmm.
While Lana get herself together. So I've been in contact with my site supervisor, and I've just been doing like different resource lists. One on like anxiety, spreading kindness, different things like that. This is my second one sending out, and different like educational things, free educational assistance, because it is elementary, and Rockledge wasn't that prepared for us to go virtual. So I've just been assisting with that and sending like little resources and things like that. And I see that continuing until like school is back in session.
Okay. All right, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I can hear you.
What I was going to say was both webinars that I previewed, one of them was extremely interesting, and I learned a lot from the ASCA site. There was this one school in Pennsylvania. He's a school counselor, and their process is just phenomenal. He was saying it's a charter school, K through 12. And he said they pretty much function just like brick and mortar, everything that they do. But I was extremely impressed about all of their resources and some of the activities that they're doing. It's called Agora Cyber Charter School in Pennsylvania. And I was impressed by a lot of the resources that they provided for students at all levels. It was something different. And one of the things another thing they had was all of the resources for everything on their website, you know, crisis, teen pregnancy, you name it, they had everything.
What was the name of the school?
The school is called Agora, Agora, Cyber Charter School in Pennsylvania. It's right outside of Philly.
Philadelphia?
Yes. And they were just saying that, and one of the things that really, I mean, my ears kind of went up. They just got so creative. They have cooking classes on there, sewing, I mean, everything for these students for every type of interest. And one of the things that they do is they ask, you know, students their interests, their strengths, what do you love? Of course, I guess they had to survey. And based on that, they're trying to meet the students where they are. In addition to regular academics, they showed a screenshot. It was a PowerPoint presentation, and I love the visuals they had. They showed the actual lesson, and it had the students grade how many hours you had, what's left, some of the interests, all of those things. I was just really impressed. And I think they shared that because of what many of the counselors are going through now in terms of, you know, trying to counsel and do some things in these virtual platforms. So I really, really learned a lot from that. And saw some things that I think a lot of schools should invest in. They're definitely ahead. I don't know where Prince George's County is, but they were tight. They had it all. Everything that a brick and mortar school had, they have online. They said they did nothing different except that it's just virtual. They have something that I really love, something called a crisis room. If there are any issues of suicide ideologies, somebody's stressed, or anything of that nature, what they would do is direct the teacher at that time online to stay present with that student until either the parent is called or police or whoever. And I just love that. Confidentiality, had a lot of processes and group for that, group counseling. I mean, I was just blown away. I was like, I didn't know schools like that existed. So a lot of great information. If you guys haven't seen it, I mean, it's excellent to listen to and just learn about some of these other schools and what they're doing. And they also had some of the things that Ms. Ham mentioned: stress management, time management for students, anxiety, mental health, all the various types of cyberbullying, you name it, LGBTQ. They had pretty much a particular session for everybody if they needed that particular, you know, that particular help, those resources or the help. Pretty good. And I think that was it. Oh, and then along the lines of school counseling, I think it was Brian, you asked, and we talked about this, and I don't know if we want to talk on this platform or after this meeting, but I've had some issues and need to know the next step because I'm about ready to email the principal or whatever I need to do. I have heard nothing. So that's why I'm doing a lot on my own. I've heard nothing no communication from the, I don't know if she's going through something. I know she was out of town in Texas right after the break when school shut down. She was in Texas. And she only communicated to me when she sent my signed timesheets back. And that has been it. And I've been asking her questions about, you guys have anything? Do you need help with anything? That I can get some additional indirect hours.
Is she back in the area?
She has not said. I've been communicating by email, but no reply. So I'm concerned. I don't know if she's, you know, caught up with this thing, if she's still out of town. So I just need to know the next step, but I'm not waiting on her. I'm trying to be creative and do some things. I'll be tutoring and helping students as well through another program. So I just got to do me. I can't sit around and wait for her. And I'm going to also utilize some of the resources you guys have, but I have, several things in places. I could also help students at my church. So I'm looking into all of that as well.
I would suggest, Lana, my school counselor didn't reach out to me till like 2 days ago. Like they're getting ready to be on spring break still. So I think a lot of them are still getting directives. And when she called me, it was like 7:30 at night. And she was like, I'm sorry to call you, but I just got information. I didn't want you to think that I was just ignoring you. So I would give her, not saying you need to do nothing, but I would give her the benefit of the doubt of at least getting this week through, because I think that they're slow to get information also. Because when she called me, she had an abundance of information, almost like she had just received it today. So
And I get that, and I thought about that as well. My thing is just communicate and say something. It's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks going on. So
I haven't had an email, a phone call, or nothing, but she has kids and things too. So she was like, I just have had trouble getting time outside of being a homeschool teacher for my kids now, talking and dojoing parents. So not saying it's a reason, but I would just not let it go, but I would give her a little bit of time, maybe send another follow-up.
okay. I mean, that's no problem. And I sent her, I sent the email. So I plan to, if he doesn't reply, I sent it a week ago. I can send another one. Just let me know. And it was very cordial. Are you okay? What's going on? Just haven't heard from you. But nothing. Even when she sent the timesheets, just no reply and nothing about any hours or activities. So she may be going through her own thing, but my thing is just communicate, because I get that you may not know. And that wasn't the issue for me. The issue is just communicate something and acknowledge that you got the message. That's all.
Well, while we're on the top, I'll share what my supervisor shared with me, because I'm sure it'll probably be helpful for people that are in elementary school. She had sent to me that the majority of what they're being asked to do is going to revolve around class counseling lessons, and that they've been given the approval to not only record lessons, but they can have live lessons, which will allow for you to have interactions with students like as it's occurring. I know it's not ideal, and you were talking about that in the training, Ms. Ham, but with intern involved, like she told me I can either choose to run lead and she can answer chat questions from students, or I could be the one answering questions. That way with 2 people, you can kind of keep streamlining the information while still being able to answer questions at the same time. And their schedule has her doing class counseling almost every single day except like Friday. So it's an abundance of hours that people can get. So she was going to reach out with me about doing the training that you had already sent out a message about. Then going ahead and doing that, because that seems like a good way for everybody to get hours.
It is.
Probably seeming like class counseling is like going to be the best choice. And then she did offer that if parents are comfortable with us sitting in on sessions, she was cool with me sitting on. She still has students she has to check in with weekly on specific dates, and that I could just Zoom in, or not Zoom, whatever they choose, and sit in on the meeting, and that would be an opportunity to get direct hours. So I just wanted to share so that if other people were looking for ideas, maybe they could reach out and state those things, because they seem to be things she got from the people in charge of the school counselors in Prince George's.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna reach out to her another time again, because it's 3 of them. It's 3 counselors, but again, she just never communicated anything, and that's my concern more than anything. The fact, and it's not like her, so I'm really concerned. But I'll just reach out again, and I'll.
How many hours do you have?
I have about 80, almost 90.
I mean, my opinion, I think you should, at this point, should just focus on getting indirects and move on until she contacts you. Because we have a professor who didn't even show up to class on Monday online, and we don't know if she is going through something or sick with this. So when I just sent an email, I'm like, I hope you're okay. I don't know. And it's unlike her too, because we had so many presentations to do online, and she didn't show up. So I think all in a place where people are losing family and can't do anything about it. I don't know. It's a lot going on.
And we even have a professor who got caught on a cruise ship. She went on a cruise before the break, and she can't get off.
Yeah, I
She
saw.
can't talk.
I don't know. Is that the one off of Florida that Florida doesn't want to accept? Is it that ship?
I think it is.
Because they have 21 people sick and they want to dock, but the Florida's governor is saying no. So they're out there just twirling around in the sea right now. So that's yeah. So I'm hoping she's okay, but yes, and that's definitely what I'm focusing on, my indirect hours. So.
And if it helps, I would just say that if you want to copy one of us in that email, and that may, I don't know, it may or may not help. But I think what Cassandra's saying is very true. I think these are unprecedented times.
Right.
People may be going through things that we don't know.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, I would like copy me as well because I'm concerned about it.
Yes, I'll do that because, like I said, this is out of character for her. It's just, and I am concerned. I've been praying that she's not sick, or I don't know if she's still away. But that's been my number one concern. So. And
I can also reach out. We have once we come out of this, we have to do something with Prince George's County. Our partnership with Prince George's County really has been solidified with this. So we've been meeting with them regularly. So I can also reach out to the central office without causing alarm bells. So it won't be in the sense of that she's doing anything, not being her, doing her best, but really looking out for her. Because I hear your concern about her well-being.
Right.
And so I can definitely do that because I think that is a normal response in this abnormal situation.
Right. And also, Nikki, are you in touch with because you know, is it Parsons? She's over the counselors. Any way you can email her? Because she would have resources.
Yeah, no, you were saying Doreen Hogan's and Angela. Yes, Andrea Carter. That's who I've been in contact with. Andrea Carter Lawson.
No, is that her name, Lawson? Okay.
Lawson.
Okay.
Lawson.
Yeah, she may know of some resources, and she may know as well.
That's what, and actually, and I don't want to go again, but I want to share out with you. I'm going to share this with you. And some of you may have seen this and some of you may not. This is what the county has out now for Prince George's County for, they have a continuity of learning plan. So this is what your elementary school councils probably have something similar in terms of what they're looking to do.
I saw this online.
Yep, and what they may be changing and what they're looking for. And that's where they're looking for support from us. Bowie State Practicum intern students and everything. So we'll be posting this for you as well, just to take a look and give you some, and this is how we're looking to provide support, and specifically like that student Naviance support is what they're looking for. And that's up here as well. Who wants to share out next?
Sorry. Where's that?
I saw Derica and then Brooke. Go ahead.
Brooke had a question about I think her question was, where's the information located?
Oh, well, Lana, you said you saw it.
It's on the site. Yeah, it's on the Prince George's County school site. I just went through, perused everything. They have all those things on there.
pgcps.org?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But I can post it. I'll post it to Blackboard as well. I can do that.
My question was, so just to clarify, the only thing that is like really off limit to us right now is socio-emotional. So everything outside of that, we're allowed to get creative with what we do. And I hope I'm not like beating this point too much into the ground, but I think it was Chinese who said this, but I am concerned about my hours, like how to designate or differentiate between direct and indirect, because we're not there and we can, for me personally, like we had to like pull passes for students to like come down to the counseling office, but for the most part, like as everyone else, they're in class. So finding creative ways to connect with them to get our hours, because I'm used to spending like a 6 to 8 hour day there. And I know that that's not realistic now. So I'm just really concerned about like getting my hours. Ideally, I would like to do it before the end of the semester. Like I said, I'm taking a week off from work to just work on like my seminar paper and just get myself kind of centered. But just hopefully everyone can find this helpful, but just as much guidance and like as many parameters as possible that you can provide us with what what is okay and what's not okay, and just like more resources and tips. Like if we can get something running on Blackboard, that would be really helpful, because this conversation has been helpful, like hearing everyone else, what they've been doing, what's been working. But honestly, I'm still concerned and still kind of confused, just because everyone's site is individually different.
Well, Derek, and I will say what I'm saying for Prince George's County has been extended to, so I know you're at Bishop McNamara, but they have extended that to our students, Bowie students. So as a Bowie State student, you can participate in these online learning opportunity, not online, well, what is it called? Virtual opportunities as well. So they would, if you're scheduled to attend the webinar for Naviance, and then to provide assistance with registering students for Naviance and helping them in that process. That would be something that they would want and help with. The same with delivering of lessons or putting on lessons and delivering those lessons. We can definitely kind of get something started. I can update or upload that direct as well as indirect. There was an indirect list of activities. We attempt to help. We can update and put direct activities as well. I think the biggest challenge is always, as we say, I'll keep on saying to everybody, it feels like we are building this plane as we're flying it, and more specifically, how to fly this plane. And so, because I've never flew a plane like this before, and so it feels very kind of, it's changing every day. But
every day.
Yeah, but I think that, so that's why we have been in meetings with one earlier this week was Prince George's County. And then today we met with, I was seeing Dr. Scott and everyone to make sure these were okay to present to you guys as options. And so, and then actually I sent an email out to Bishop McNamara to say what other ways that we can support. So I've shared with her what we've shared out with you guys attending the webinar and all of those different activities. And what we would like for our students to participate in and giving those opportunities. So for example, next week with Bishop McNamara being on spring break, and so is Prince George's County, I want probably to maybe have you guys work with maybe University of Maryland and start thinking about developing those lessons. So those would be some indirect hours, but then I would like to see as you deliver those lessons, and granted it's asynchronous in the delivering of those lessons, but we would probably want to, you know, in terms of kind of how we can make or provide support for those to become direct hours, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I think, and I hope I'm not misspeaking for anyone, but for me, if it's possible, I think what's really stressing me out or concerning me is the designation of direct versus indirect, because honestly, all of it feels pretty indirect.
Yes.
So if there can be any like lenience with that, that would also be helpful. And then if the hours that we do, because for some of us, who are in a unfortunate situation, like I'm still working from home. So it's not like I have like 8 hours a day to, you know, I have to, and now that we're doing it online, my job is kind of like, oh, well, you know, you can go back to work 5 days a week instead of 4. So if, like when you all do like the conversion of, I guess like county sponsored and Bowie sponsored events, including class times, converting those into actual hours. Like also if you all could be mindful just like how generous you are with those hours. So like class time is 4:55 to 7:25, but let's say we get done at 6:30. Are we still gonna get the full hours? Just things like that. I think for me personally would be helpful if you all could keep in mind. And it's not really just and I don't want it to come off like just like I'm trying to cut corners, but me personally, I work really well within just like the rules and knowing what to expect. And since this is so unprecedented, and as you said, we're building the plane as we're flying it, just as much grace as possible that could be given. That'd be dope.
Well, I think one, you should know that I think that is probably the biggest word is grace in this space. And that we are very accommodating. And I think some of it is even in a sense of we want to write it down, but in some cases, For example, when Lana was saying the tutoring and everything, and I was like, I don't know. But then today when we were meeting, Ms. Bryant was like, and Dr. Scott was like, I think we can, because if you're going to focus on time management and organization and those sort of things. So I think as we tease these conversations out and pull them apart, we are looking for ways in which we want you to be like, no, where we're saying, okay, where can we provide the parameters to allow some grace in there to make it possible, instead of just being our first. So I think whereas before we were like, these are our firm rules. So sometimes we want to write it down, but kind of right now it's even in a space of maybe not that we don't want to write it down, because now we want to say where we used to say absolutely not, we're like, no, let's see where we can make it fit. So that's actually, if anything, that's kind of where we're moving from Bowie State, I would say. When you say, Ms. Diane, Dr. Scott, we're looking at how can we make this fit? So if you come to us with, so I think Nakia was saying, can I do the hours at where I work? And usually it would be absolutely not. It was like, let's check and see, because you're working from home, it's virtual, it's different. Providing support, if your site supervisor is not as helpful, let's see if we can make this fit. Typically that would have been absolutely no, but let's see how we can make it work.
Even working cross county, some of you might be in another county, but Prince George's County has called out for help, and we can now take those direct hours and move them into your space, even though that's not your site. That's difficult to do under normal circumstances, but not so with us at this point.
So also, is anyone a member of the Golden Key? I mean, academic scholar. Anyone a member of Golden Key International?
Yeah.
Okay, you are? Okay, they're
a few of us are nodding our head.
Okay, they're offering, they have, as a matter of fact, they have a webinar coming up and several, but one is coming up on Thursday. You can go to the website and sign up for the day and time best for you. And they're going to be talking about some of these things, these times we're in, and providing some other resources to students. And they're partners with Bowie State. So if you go on the website, you'll see it, you can sign up.
But I hear you, Derica. So what we will do is upload the information for the direct hours and also recommendations for possible, the possible activities for direct hours, and then possible activities for indirect and direct. Can't say those are. But I don't want that to be your parameters. Really think outside the box, because I think we are willing to think outside the box to accommodate and really provide you with the opportunities. In the ideal world, none of this would be on the table because you would be in your schools. But the reality is we're dealing with a global pandemic. Who? So, I mean, we have to make it work, and we are wanting our partners, and we're so glad that Prince George's County is like with us on the same page with what do we need to do, because they want you to graduate because they need to hire you. They're like, we need to hire school counselors. I have a principal who is mad at me because she was like, I need to hire a counselor. And she was like, I need to talk with you. So she's been texting me and harassing me during this time, because she was like, I need to hire a counselor and I want one from Bowie. And she was like, so I need one. So, I mean, and she's not alone. And the reason why she's like, I'm glad I have your numbers, because she knows, and she's talking to other principals who are like, I need a counselor. I know I'm going to need a counselor. And so they want you to move through to graduate, so that way they can move through and hire. And it's not just Prince George's. Howard County said the same thing to me. They were like, please don't hold these students back. We need them to graduate because we need school counselors. So Baltimore City, Kevin, Baltimore City, they definitely have a big counselors. So they want you to graduate as quickly as possible so that you can get into the system. So we want to make that happen. We don't want to hold up because of 1.1 or 1.2. I think we feel very confident, and Dr. Scott, let me know, Ms. Brown, and your counseling competency skill set. And so we don't want to get bogged down with the minutia because of a global pandemic. Like, I'm like, we got bigger things to deal with.
Yes.
That part of it.
So and there's going to be a lot of stress and strain, and we need our counselors to be prepared to go out and help people deal. I heard someone, I think it was the governor of New York, say today that afterwards, the after effect, the aftershock for people trying to figure out their lives and get them back together, they're going to need help. They're going to be emotionally struggling. So they're going to need more of us. and not less of us because they held us for a few hours.
Yeah. Okay, just one question, Ms. Ham. I know you sent the Naviance webinar for us to sign up for next week. With Prince George's County Schools being on spring break through the 13th, how's that week going to look for us other than the webinar? Are we still going to meet?
Oh, I don't know the webinar. I mean, I would encourage you during that time especially if they're virtually on spring break, and we can, like I said, next week we want to maybe meet with University of Maryland, College Park, their program and our program, and maybe start to strategize and think about activities and stuff like that. And you can still get hours as you're working on developing those activities. Those would be indirect hours that you're maybe working on, but then if you are going to upload them, or we can talk about that. No.
Okay.
Again, building this plane, I don't know that far in. I saw Derica and then Tynese, and then
Tynese can go. I feel like I've been talking a lot. She can go.
I know people are hungry and ready to do other things, but I just wanted to say something to think about also is you said like get creative, like say if we do like a fun little creative video, post it on TikTok, post it on YouTube or what have you, think about how you would calculate that time for like all the viewers and all those things. Like if it's a 30-second video, but like 100 people see it, like what those hours gonna look like.
Well, we could definitely talk about the engagement, that piece of it, the engagement piece. I want us to, I mean, I don't know. This is a whole thing in terms of, because I know I have a 12-year-old and I know he lives for Instagram, he lives for TikTok, and it's his way of where he consumes information is through that. We are heavily monitoring it, but it's where he gets and goes to get a lot of his information. So I think that, I think it would be really transformative for us as working in collaboration with Maryland and Bowie State and forward thinking with looking at those places to kind of put information out there. I don't know what that looks like, and we can probably have another conversation with the faculty to say, how does that look for hours? I don't know. But I know it's, a 30-second or 20, even 5-minute or whatever video is not, you put that in, that's what you get out. But, the production of that or the putting that up may take longer in terms of calculating that and, feedback or whatever engagement that you have, what does that look like? So we can definitely have conversations about that.
Yeah. Okay.
To follow up on that, one, I was going to say some ideas that I just came up with while y'all have been talking is, so before the pandemic, we were going to do a Wellness Wednesday, and I think Katrina was talking about like a newsletter that her school does. So I'm going to talk to my site supervisor about doing that virtually with like tips for them to practice self-care. Also, I was thinking of having the students write thank you notes to like their local medical professionals, just over time. And then also have students create like a creative piece promoting students to stay at home for COVID-19. So like a PSA to their, classmates about like staying home, and they can use any type of medium as long as it's like appropriate language for school. And then also, I've been seeing on Twitter like lots of little cards where they do like the 20 seconds to washing your hands, and each step is like to the lyrics of a song. So like maybe have the kids create like videos, TikTok videos or something, where they're recording themselves washing their hands for 20 seconds, but making that like a PSA, like doing it to a song or making up something like that. So that's the first thing. I'm going to talk it over with my site supervisor Friday just to see how feasible it is. But then also something that Dr. Williams did when we took him for multicultural counseling, which was really dope, was one, he told us that every good counselor has a counselor, and that's how I personally got into therapy. But then he also said, for those of us who do go to therapy, we could count those hours towards PDA. Is it possible that some of those hours could also count towards our practicum hours?
I never thought about that. I don't know.
It's professional development.
No, she was saying direct hours, count those towards direct hours. You don't have, in this class, we don't have PDA. You may have noticed, we don't, because your whole class is a PDA. The whole class is a PDA, so professional development activity. So this class doesn't have PDA hours because they added hours onto the hours of the hours of the hours that you need. So I'm like, no. But what you were saying with in terms of direct services or direct, I don't know, Dr. Scott.
I kind of think it kind of falls in line, but we have to be clear because kind of overlap. I guess we have to get clearance on it, but it sounds feasible right now.
Right.
But we have to get the parameters, how far we can go with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Just throwing out every,
No,
all
it
types
is.
of
I think
situations.
this is what we do is just throw everything out there and see what sticks. And I think that's what we can do, which is, kind of, and that's all we can do because right now, again, we are in uncharted territories. And so we need to figure that out.
And to piggyback what she was saying about being creative and outside of the box, and I saw a presentation from 2 counselors from Anne Arundel High and another counselor. They presented, if you're musically creative, you can create songs. And I heard one elementary counselor, she had her class create, this is the way we wash our hands, wash our hands, wash our hands. This is the way we wash our hands because so early in the morning. So that's being creative, and you're getting the message across. And the principal loved it. And so he had all the students, all his teachers, they did an in-service this week. So either teachers and the counselors are teaching how to wash their hands, how to be clean with it. So again, being creative and coming out the box. Because all the kids like music. They can do a rap song, as they do pictures. So again, being creative and using what each age group love to do.
All right. So I'm writing these down because we are, and I said before, we have a faculty meeting tomorrow. So we would bring those, I can present these to the faculty. And then it kind of, in this process, works its chain to touching base with Dr. Williams if the faculty agrees. And then he would bring it to the dean. And then we'll go from there in terms of kind of what we're looking for. I mean, this is just examples, but we're really kind of having a conversation about what direct hours or what
will be acceptable.
Yeah, what will be acceptable in those things.
And it's a broad range because we're in uncharted territory.
Very
so we'll see.
And I want you to know that we are very aware that and very candidly advocating for you, specifically as school counseling, because KCREP is saying that they approve telehelp, but the reality is that for school counseling, that is not always realistic. And as I shared earlier, especially even let's say best case scenario, we said we could do telehealth. The reality is in a school-based setting, you're not doing counseling for 1 hour. Like you're just not sitting with a student for 1 hour. We've all been counselors. It's very short-term solution focused. Maybe you're there for 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe, but you're not sitting there for an hour. So
no.
It doesn't correlate the same that it would for clinical mental health or counseling, because that means that they would see a certain number of people. For you guys, you would have to see a large number of people to do that telehealth in that format. Over the reality is you may check in for 15, 20 minutes or so. So we want to make sure that KCREP really understands what school counseling looks like. And the other part is, in a school, it's easy to see a lot of kids because you got them coming.
Right.
You're like, no.
Every direction.
Yeah, you have to, and they're coming every direction, and you're talking to them in the lunchroom, you're talking to them in the hallway, you're doing, short solution focus as you're walking down and doing all of this. But now that you're sitting in this space, then they may not be coming like that because they have other things they have to attend to. So we are very much having a very candid conversation with KCREP so that way they can understand how school counseling looks very different than the other fields. So
can you add one more thing to check tomorrow at your meeting? Are you guys in meeting with Lucas Brown?
Yes, she's yeah.
Is there any way, can you find out from her, because we have to, since we're no longer in school and we were meeting with our groups, we have to come up with this artifact. And now we probably have to either do it at home, or I don't know how. I'm thinking, is that a way for us to get some indirect hours as well, because we still have to prepare it at home or.
So I'll ask her how will the, and then I'll have a circle back with you guys. How will the class be modified? The class and the assignment be
For
modified?
the artifact, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And
Good
will
question.
that allow us some indirect hours as well, since you have to work on it, and it was supposed to be worked on at school with the students?
Okay. All right, I can definitely do that. Anybody else want to share how things are going?
I have a question about the meeting tomorrow. Can I come to the meeting? I know it's a weird question, but it's just like, I always gotta ask if I can come to the meetings, the staff meeting tomorrow that y'all have.
The faculty meeting tomorrow? Now I don't. That's
Yeah.
Dr. Williams. I don't know Dr. Williams that question.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a concern?
No, like that's just my normal job, and so like I'm normally there, so I just had to to ask in case
Yeah. Well, we miss you, James. I know you are there, but I definitely just touch base and Dr. Williams an email. Find out. So.
It'll all be virtual, so you'll be doing what we're doing.
Yeah, right here.
Do you guys foresee having any other town hall meetings?
Oh, so this is not a town hall. This is every Thursday. James can tell you. Every Thursday we are in marathon meetings all day. Marathon.
I mean, do you foresee having a
town hall meeting?
Yes, for the school by the president.
Oh, for the president. Okay, now that's a different level. I was gonna say for the department, I can definitely take it to Dr. Williams. For the school, I know that I think GSA is having a town hall tomorrow. Is GSA having a town hall tomorrow? Does anyone know?
Yeah.
Haven't heard.
There's a town hall tomorrow with President Bro. I can email everybody that information if you want to.
Could you please? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's tomorrow and it's with President Bro. So I would encourage you to attend if you're able to. I think you have to register, which is smart. But I do think we can certainly bring it up to Dr. Williams if you feel like. Do you feel like a town hall meeting is needed for?
Well, someone told, I don't know who was it, told me that they had one not too long ago because they were asking, did you attend the town hall? And I was like, what town hall?
No,
so
that was I think that was for counseling psych. It was a mandatory meeting.
Oh, okay.
Students about.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that was just counseling psych. But if you feel that's something that you think is important or needed, let me know because I can share it with the faculty or specifically Dr. Williams. Why not? Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Capstone project. Are we supposed to be counting some of those indirect hours, like when we're doing our research for our project or anything? Because when we were at our site, we were using time. Well, I was to do my capstone project.
Yeah, I mean, I think it relates to the school-based setting. So I don't see why, because it was a program that you were implementing, a school-wide or something school-wide for the school program that you were doing. It wasn't like you were researching your own research topic or your own personal interest. It was related to making and improving, if I remember her correctly, required to make and improve a problem you saw in the school that you're working in right now.
Right.
So I don't see why that it would be a natural overlap. That's why a lot of people do capstone at the same time they do practicum, because it's an overlap in that. So,
because I use some of my indirect hours, some of them have come from that. Like when I was working with the group of kids, and now I've done the video that I use, but I have to edit it, and then even going into the research for the paper.
Yeah, I don't see why it's that in terms of, because I know for that class that's kind of how that works, but I don't know, Ms. Diane or Dr. Scott, if you see something differently or you think differently.
No, I think it's the same.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
All right. I've heard from, I guess, I know Nakia was a little quiet. Kevin, how are things going?
I reached out to, I got back in touch with my site supervisor at the beginning of this week, and she just has me as of right now creating lesson plans for such stuff as just SEL lesson plans like digital citizenship, bullying and stuff like that. She just said because she's still, like you guys said, she's trying to figure out what they're going to do with everything. And I know I've been splitting my time between putting those lesson plans together and setting up my digital classroom for Google Classroom for my students and whatnot. That's all. That's where we're at right now. So she's still trying to figure out there. She said been in a bunch of meetings, still going through meetings. Trying to figure out what exactly is I guess the counselor's role in during this time, whatnot. So that's pretty much where we're at. So she just told me to start putting lesson plans together. Because I have more than 40 hours for my my direct hours already, because that's pretty much of the bulk I was doing once I came into the building with my direct hours.
That's good.
So just the indirect hours is what I'm trying to accumulate now. So and I believe I have like maybe 40 hours left of indirect hours to get. So that's, I guess, this the webinar, between the webinars and the and lesson planning, I believe I should be getting those within the coming weeks. So
okay.
I think I'm on track. And definitely interested in getting in on some of the projects that we were talking about at the beginning and whatnot. So I'll be looking out for the emails and the
Please do.
And the webinars and whatnot.
Yeah, please do look out for it. I think this is a great opportunity to partner and also to get us insight, especially if you don't have that much time, but to see how another school system is operating and working and doing some things. It helps to kind of give you a snapshot as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Felicia, how things going with you?
So my supervisor, he's like old school, so he wasn't.
Mr. Jones, you got Mr. Jones?
No, Mr. Cook, Andre Cook.
Oh, Andre Cook. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
So he called me. We had a conversation, about an hour conversation on Monday, because that's when PG put out all of their information around everybody and staff. So he was like overwhelmed. So I've been helping him set up his Google Classroom, and I suggested to him that because he just didn't really know like what to do to reach students. So we came up with a plan as to set up a Google Classroom for him, and then he's going to connect with his principal and get them to send information out to parents that if any students that need help or anything like that, to connect with us through the counselor's Google Classroom. So I'm working with that. I'm kind of like, he made me a teacher on there too. So I'm posting up information, pulling together little lesson plans and for him to put out there. We're talking about time management and anxiety tips, things like that. And then also we're exploring doing a career day. So I told him I would talk to some different, like try to get some different resources as to how we could do like a career day. And he's trying to figure out Naviance as well, because it is a few students he has to do.
Wow.
But he's just not sure, because I know like today in the PG training, they were talking about like the Google Hangouts. And it gets a little tricky because he wasn't sure about like the privacy of it all. Mm-hmm. So he is still trying to look into that. But the main thing I'm working on is getting those lesson plans together, putting those little flyers and handouts up on the website that we have, and also trying to figure out a virtual career day and planning that. So
those might be.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say you might be able to get the students to help you with a career day. Each of their parents has some kind of a career. Mm-hmm. Maybe if you got the child to interview the parent and then put them up. They're all sitting around at home. Mm-hmm. So they have careers, and then put them in categories, and then they can go up on the I don't know how you do wall, and I'm not good with the technology piece of it. But if they could do the interview, everybody got a phone.
Mhm.
There wouldn't be any confidentiality problems
Yeah.
because they'd be interviewing their own parent. When they first started charging parents to come in to the building for their fingerprinting, I suggested in my own building that we had TV throughout the building, that we do a virtual career day, because it was going to cost the parents $60 to get their fingerprint printed to come into the building. So it's not something that, at least I thought about it in a lot of depth, and yet they don't have to come in, and they could also put it on YouTube or whatever. They could watch it in pieces. Like you could do medical, you could do businesses, you could do, like even medical, you're going to separate veterinarian from pediatrician, or, you know, whatever the jobs the parents have. You know, if it's a collage, you could do a collage of jobs and say, these are things that work that our parents do. Some of the children really don't know what their parents do. And it would give them an opportunity to understand it better.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I think that's wonderful that you are helping with your
Yes.
supervisor. Those are some great ways to get hours.
Yes.
And certainly reach out working with your other classmates to see if anybody else is able to help support, or you might be able to help support other teachers. Don't be surprised if you hear other teachers start emailing you to get school counselors, because there are people who are like, I've never done Google Classroom with it.
If I was still working, I'd be holding on to you.
Yes.
You'd be dragging me along.
Yes.
And Nikki?
Yes.
And those resources I sent to you, actually, there's some resources for a virtual career day.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Oh, great.
So I'm going to be uploading, so in summary, I'm going to make sure I'm uploading the resources from Dr. Scott, as well as the direct and indirect hours information overview, direct, indirect overview. I'm writing this down so I don't forget, as well as the PGCPS, just as a sample, their continuation of learning plan, since it's on their website. I didn't know that, so I'll share that so that way you guys can see that. That's up there. And then, I don't know if there's anything else. I'm trying to think that I need to. I'll put I think that's it. I'll post that information up there, so you can have.
And this is Nakia. Miss, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, Miss Tammy kept putting me on mute. Okay. Well, like I stated before, you know, last week I reached out to my site director, and at the time she just suggested the webinars, but she said something about going on to a meeting last Thursday or Friday, or, you know, having it online, and I don't know if she came up with anything then, but from some of my classmates, I got some ideas from some of you all this evening. I'm going to suggest to her that if there's anyone she has to reach out to, possibly seeing if I can, you know, sit in on those sessions through whatever platform, you know, we choose to use as well.
Yep.
Right now with her.
So. Sounds good.
I think the key is to be creative as possible.
And then I'll email you separately as far as, you know, about what I asked you about earlier as far as helping someone at my job with Navi. It's just like Ms. Bryant was saying, you know, it's not my site, it's where I work, but, you know, kind of like what they're asking us to do in PG County as well.
Yeah.
So all good stuff.
Yeah. Please do.
Yeah.
I think we heard from everybody. Did we hear from everyone?
I think we did.
Well, I think we have a very helpful conversation. We are in constant conversation. Dr. Scott, Ms. Bryant, and I are constantly talking about ways and resources to support you. Please reach out to us. We'll try and provide.
Don't wait till Wednesday. If you need something before Wednesday,
Right.
you know, let us know. Don't wait till we meet. You know, let us know. Email me or text me and say, "Hey, Miss Bryant, could you give me a call?" Or, you know, I'm having a problem. It's anytime.
Yeah.
It's not a Wednesday activity.
Yeah, and you, some of you guys are great with that. And then we'll circle back and upload. One, we'll upload this, but also this meeting. But also we'll upload. We'll update you on information as we get it. So you'll get, as you get emails from us, we'll be sending you emails about opportunities or experiences. So the next probably email that you'll probably get is maybe at the end of this week or so, as we try and figure out what that would look like. Maybe inviting you, if you want to join a meeting with, collaborating with Maryland College Park about supporting Prince George's County and developing some activities and those sort of things. So look out for that.
Ms. Sam?
Yes.
I had one more site that I think is really resourceful. It's the Military Child Education Coalition site.
Okay.
It provides resources how to work with the disabled, a disadvantaged child, and gets resources from K to 12. It also gives information for parents. It's very resourceful.
Oh, great.
This is Military Child Education Coalition.
Can you send that link to me?
Yes.
I'll post it. I can.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Scott, can you send the link? I don't know if you can't now, if you could send me the link and the other link, because when I talk to people, sometimes they ask, well, what can we do? You know, what are we doing? So it would help me as well.
I'll see everything.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I know we're closing out, but one suggestion to speak to De'Erica's point earlier. When you send us the videos, the recordings from class, can you also put how many hours we'll be eligible to get for attending that class?
All right, so you guys have put typically what we do when we say we give you the hours for the clock hours for the class. We don't parse it down, but so that's why I keep on saying, let us work with you. We are really trying. So we typically, that's what we do, is give you whatever the clock hours, because nobody got time to say, what did we meet this day? What did we meet that day? Right, Ms. Diane, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if you said for an hour and a half, you said for an hour and a half.
Right.
So that's what we usually do. So.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will reconvene next week just to check in and see how everybody's doing. All right.
Yes, but don't wait till next week. If you have a problem or you have a concern or we can help you, call before then.
These little icons. Oh, I see the emoji reaction. There we go. See, yeah. Give me everyone. Yes, yeah, a little thought.
I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how
I'm
to do
good
that.
to be on here.
Listen,
I'm doing
I
good
learned my
to be on
lesson for
here.
the day.
Well, it's in your little icon corner. It's a little thing. My little one went away because it's a little brown hand. So, all right. Well, thank you guys. Take care.
Okay.
Take care of your families. That's so important.
Be safe and healthy.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
All right.
You
Good
too.
night.
Bye-bye.